See if I can. Okay, there we have the flag. Let's see. The red in our flag stands for courage and bravery. Today, as we salute our flag, let us remember our men and women in the armed forces who are serving us and our country. I thought this one was appropriate since our state holiday, Patriots Day, is coming up on Monday. I can't get the flag. So please join me, Scout salute. Yeah, or the hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. And please also join me as we try to recall what it is we're supposed to be doing and what we're supposed to be focusing on. The Scout oath and the Scout law tend to be an anchor. Scout sign. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. And Scout sign again, the Scout law. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. 2.
And sarcastic.
Did I miss one?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. I don't have it printed in front of me, but I'm sure I didn't miss one. The cadence has to be maintained. Break anywhere in between here, got to start over again. So we have quite a few things on the agenda, and I'm not sure I can bring mine up without losing you guys. We have our annual recognition of adult leaders. And that's coming up in 10 days from tomorrow, April 24th, 7 o'clock.
Pull up the slides.
Oh, sure.
That has the dates and the agenda for that, I think.
I forgot about.
Ron, your hair's looking good.
Right on top of things, right?
3 seconds. Here we go. Welcome, Art. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Art and Christian, I hope we see you on the 24th.
Since it's
All right.
right down the street, the First Baptist Church.
Yep.
In Arlington.
And if I could just a note on the recognition event, I've gotten nothing for Den Leader Training Awards, Scouters Training Awards, or Scouters Keys besides mine. So if you guys know someone who's done all their training and is reasonably sure that they've done the performance related to that, feel free to shoot me an email. soltrainingchair@gmail.com gets to me, and I can make sure they get recognized.
Are you seeing the, okay, so you're seeing the full slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Go to slide 2 as the agenda. Slide 3 has the district meeting information.
Here's your agenda.
What time is that? 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
I thought the one.
John,
Yes.
What time is the
John, is
district
there
annual meeting?
further on the line with Derby?
What about it?
Any further? Just the date, place.
Oh, the date. Okay. Other than the date, it is Saturday, May 6th.
Okay.
It again is rolling by ranks. Let's see, Tigers have to appear at no later than 9:30. Their race will be started at 10 on the dot. The Wolves, it's by rank. racing on the hour, they need to be there a half hour earlier to check in and make sure they have their cars ready to go and everything accounted for. So Tigers are at 9:30 arrival, 10 o'clock racing begins. Wolves, they should be arriving at 10:30 for 11 o'clock start for their heats. Bears, since they race at noon, they need to be there by 11:30. First year Webelos would start racing at 1 o'clock, so they need to be there a half hour earlier at 12:30. Any and all available second year Webelos, or some people call them Arrow of Light, if they're still willing and had raced a car in their pack before they crossed over, they're welcome to join us at 1:30 to be checked in for their race at 2. That leaves us only the Lions. Typically, we've not had very many of them, so we asked them to be there at 2:30, 2:15, 2:30, so we can start their race about 2:45. And it doesn't take a whole half hour to check them in and get them ready. And then we can get out faster. The pack that is hosting this year is Pack 313. In case you didn't know that, Christian. I believe we will be using their track as well. Someone named Saf,
David
S-A-F-F,
Saff,
as opposed to Seth, that I sent an email to that address with that name instead of Saf, has agreed to help us set it up and get it running. He'll lead it for the first few ranks and then leave us on our own with the able assistant of the Cub Master, George
Bell.
Bell, Bell, not misspelling of my last name. So we should be able to pull that off. If the track cannot be used or is unavailable or anything happens, through Pact 306 from Arlington First Baptist Church has for years been letting us use their old wooden track, 3-lane, even though they have a newer, brighter, shinier one. We still use that because Richard Damon knows how to run it. He has a computer program and a screen, projector, computer program, everything to keep track, assign all the lanes, and keep track of their scores and identify the first 3 placers. The trouble with using aluminum tracks is you usually have 4 lanes, and the person who comes in fourth, or at least their family members, seem to be expecting that the kid will get a trophy because the first 3 place winners get trophies. It's easier when there's only 3 lanes, but we'll see how that goes. I do not have the trophies yet or patches. I have not been able to find my reserve supply of patches from the year 2020 that we never ran. I used half of them last year, and I kept the other half for this year. The packs have been dragging their feet and responding to my more than one email request for them to check in with me. I'm not requiring that they register online, pay a money ahead of time. They can just hand me a check or cash or even Venmo using my wife's account. But I do need to know how many people they're sending and some sense of a commitment as to how many people we're going to have. Normally I do that back in December so that I have a head count and I can order trophies. Well, trophies are always the same number, but the patches are the hard part. Sometimes it takes quite a long time to get brand new ones, but we'll make it one way or the other. So then let's see. Oh, well, before that is the annual meeting and recognition event.
Steve, you want to go forward one more slide?
One more slide?
Yeah. There we go.
There we go. Okay, it is a Monday night, not a Thursday night. It's also not the weekend. It will start at 7 o'clock and hopefully be done by 8:30. It is intended to be recognition for our adults as well as our district meeting and election of uh, district chair, and district members at large. I think those are the only positions that are actually elected or voted upon.
I got a question.
Shoot,
As a district member at large, who do we send our registration to and how much is it?
well, if you're already registered in some other capacity, you don't have to pay anything. But if you're not, then it needs to go to the council office. And the fee would be the adult required fee for this year, which I'm not sure what that is right now.
Register for what, John?
For my position,
District member at large.
an advancement chairman too.
You're already, excuse me, you're already on the roster. You don't have to fill out a new registration form.
Yeah, but I gotta pay some money, right?
Yeah, John, they will send you a bill.
Yeah.
I had checked into that.
Only
Okay,
if
then I'm not
someone,
worried about it. Let them send me a bill. I'm good. All right.
Hey, John Tumblin, they may actually send you two since you're advancement chair too. You may have to pay twice as much.
Well, that's it. I quit. No more advancement chair. I quit.
your registration is valid through May 31st, so you got
If I
some
don't get the
time.
bill, if I don't get the bill to June 1st, what happens?
I don't think they even chase us for district people who are not registered with a unit anywhere. They don't start chasing it until after mid-June at the earliest. So don't worry. You can't get away that easily. So
If I have any, my only question is, if I haven't paid and we have boards of review, are they legal?
Yes. That's in the guide to advancement.
can't
Chapter
get
and
at that
verse,
easy.
please.
Okay. Okay, the other recognitions are, well, we're not using those titles of Scoutmaster of the Year and Cub Master of the Year, Rookie of the Year for several positions. We're going with the Scouter,
I think it's outstanding. It should be outstanding scouter.
Outstanding, as opposed, somebody else filed one for Super Scouter, as I recall. I mean, that's how that got snuck in there. But outstanding scouters in any capacity, whether it's committee members, assistant scoutmasters, and assistant leaders, other than the regular positions. If they're doing a great job and have been doing it for a while, they deserve some recognition. We're happy to give them recognition under whatever title we think we can fit it. We do have the standard awards that, well, that's a nationwide award, the District Award of Merit, affectionately known as the DAM Award, DAM. That's got its own application or nomination form and has its own recognition items, insignia. The Charles Nason Award is our own district recognition for long-term scouters. And that's measured in decades, not years. And you have to be currently registered to get these awards. So you'll still be eligible, John. But the Charles Nason Award is for long-term scouters who have been active in many capacities over many years. The presentation of Winter Camping Awards, the Frost Points, not snowflakes.
Not snowflakes. The
considering
frost points and
Snowy Owl.
smoky owl and not smoky, the snowy owl and the deep freeze. I'm going to distribute those to units so that they can give them out at their discretion, given that it was a very warm winter and they're all dated. So I don't want them hanging around for another year. I'm going to give them out to units and they can give them out to scouts at their discretion. So
We should have winter in July and give them out in July.
Art and Kristen, how many do you want?
Yeah, maybe we have to create a new award for something like boiling award, camping overnight when the temperature during the day exceeded 100. So
Oh my.
although water doesn't boil till 212 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's going to feel like it. Okay. Is there another slide, Ron?
Oh, then I think we may go
That's
on
it? Okay.
the breakout.
The other thing in April, in May is the program kickoff for our district program kickoff, which of course includes anything we can get from out of council as to any events they have for council-wide activities. But it is our time to promote our own district activities. And the one we had on the books for this spring has been pushed to next spring. Camping at the can't remember the name now, in Waltham. Not Playstead Park, that's right down the street from me.
Prospect Hill?
Prospect Hill.
Prospect, I knew it started with a P. Prospect Hill. That's going to be held in abeyance till 2024. More time to prepare. And definitely there'll be more information about it later this year and some in the beginning of the 24. I knew there was something else on the agenda, so, okay. I don't have anything else right now.
Oh, yeah, there's one thing that I forgot, the fundraiser with the first aid kits, is that over, Steve, or
No,
that was
this
the one thing I missed?
April is.
That's
the-
going on this month.
It's still going on, okay.
is when you should be selling.
Okay,
Okay.
who's leading the charge on that?
It's actually a Flintlock program, but if they want in, they should talk to me, although they're a little late.
Okay. So it's a joint activity with Flintlock.
Well, if Flintlock is sharing it, they're making it available to other units outside their district.
All right, great. I know that Group 416 right here in Medford sold first aid kits as fundraiser for a few years. I do not believe they're doing it this year, so no competition. But it's a great idea. And they had two different types of first aid kits, one for household and one for, I believe, car or outdoor, more outdoor oriented. So,
You know, you can't do that every year because if you don't use your first aid kit, you don't need a new one.
you might have to restock. Some stuff does go out of service. So, okay.
If you have a Band-Aid that doesn't stick, you've got a real problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd try you keep a can of spray adhesive with you.
There are alternatives to Band-Aids. And I don't mean thieves.
Maybe the scouts can use the neckerchiefs they don't wear.
There you go. Right.
Isn't that what they were designed for?
Not just as a tourniquet either. So, are the neckerchiefs even large enough to use as a sling anymore?
Wood badge ones are. I don't know about the others.
Yeah, the wood badge, the only ones I know of that are that size. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the working neckerchief, as opposed to the
Yeah, the pink one I can't make into a sling.
cannot call it pink. Mauve.
Can and I will.
Mauve.
The clam one is a 32-inch one.
So, okay. So, well, it's just about the time on our schedule for breakout. Does anybody have any other notices or notifications of common interest?
John, did you bring oatmeal cookies tonight?
I didn't catch that, John.
Did you bring oatmeal cookies tonight?
I had macaroons instead of oatmeal cookies,
Oh, all right.
but I had somebody gave me a little packet of chocolate chip cookies last night at a banquet for volunteers.
So there was an email that came out asking from a roundtable perspective about those impacted by SOAR My Troop going offline. And I responded to that. I don't know whether or not that, with, that's not an advertised item for tonight's agenda. And I know we have the kind of kickoff next month. And SOAR My Troop, there is a Meridian software. Looks like they kind of bought them out and is going to try to bring them back online. So that may get rid of some of the need. But I know we got just hammered by, or I don't know, just taken offline a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure. Is anybody else's experience with Soar My Troop? Did you guys get taken offline? And were you
I
using-
don't know if we had used SOAR my that software, but I know our crew website went offline, and we were using a lot of their information behind the scenes for like upkeep and emails and pictures.
Yeah. So
A lot of
we
that over there.
okay. Just we had been on pre-scout book. There was internet advancement, which tied into Troop Master, and then we used Soar My Troop as our front end, signing up for stuff, whatever else, and the data kind of flowed nicely between them. Scalpel came online, and we've been kind of all messed up ever since. And we were actually getting ready to dump Scalpel and go back to Troop Master, but it doesn't have a great web interface, and losing Soar My Troop hurts. But we're making it work for the short term at least. So I just wasn't sure if other people got impacted, but that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Art. Okay.
Yeah, good. Christian, did your troop get involved with have any problems, issues?
No, so we've been on Troop Master all along.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So
And
the
that's been okay.
yeah, for the Eagle boards. Yeah. Um,
Shall we move on to the next slide?
Yep.
But it just means we have to manually transfer stuff basically between Troop Master and Scoutbook.
sorry.
Stinks. You can't just dump the database and move it to something else.
It used Troop Master used to sync with internet advancement, but maybe that broke when they were kind of pushing Scalpel on us.
Mhm.
Believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. That, the one place where that can cause real chaos is on the Eagle application if the dates don't start to match up across the different platforms.
Yep.
I think Scalpel is the master, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
The default.
Why are we not surprised?
Or I should say internet advancement really is the master, but the way the Scalpel dumps it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Ron, you want to take away?
We're all set. Let's go to start talking about how we get kids ready to be leaders in our troop. Generic organizational chart, which I guess hopefully everybody's familiar with.
There's a message for you.
And one of the questions I've always had, and I'd like to get people's opinion on this. If you notice, like the patrol leader, the assistant patrol leader is not considered part of the PLC. You think that makes sense in the real world where people don't show up for meetings on a 100% basis? What do you do, Art? What do you do?
We have our assistant senior patrol leader at the PLC. We have, with I think probably not so great success, had all positions of responsibility there and had the ASPL break off with all of the non-leadership positions of responsibility, the historian, librarian, all that stuff, to try to get them, thinking about their next steps and on a monthly basis. I would say that's been, hasn't panned out as well as we'd like. So typically we end up meeting as one group and are just thankful for a decent participation level. The patrol leader's there, or an assistant, so that's so they're a regular crew, so they know what's going on. But yeah, I don't know what there's there's a model though that calls out the ASPL is supposed to in the PLC, it helps the with the non-leadership positions, right? I think I've seen that somewhere. I don't think we have, I don't think
several of these on the BSA website. Yes, I picked the one that fit on the slide.
Art, usually they'll show you two different models for a large troop versus a small troop.
That's the troop
Right.
organization, but with respect to PLC itself.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because well, one question is, when do you have your PLC? We tended to gather before a troop meeting.
Yep.
Half hour before, and kind of have a semi-informal meeting with everybody, SPL, PLs, and then a 10-minute wrap up after the session where we all agreed that things went or didn't go. Is that fairly common practice?
Yep, we have 7:30 meeting. We meet once a month at 6:30 for PLC. And then at the end of the meeting, we have patrol leaders meet with the senior patrol leader and assistants. I'll typically, might insert that, tell the senior patrol leader, what I'd like them to accomplish in that wrap up, if there's anything unusual. And they kind of do their thing. I walk away. And then we have one, we're going to do it on May 21st this year. We'll have one super PLC. It's 2 hours where the youth plan out the trips that they want to do for the following year. Typically we do it in June, but it's our high school graduation moved to the Sunday afternoon, and our schedule is such that we had to back it up a few weeks. Unfortunately, it lands on the Eagle recognition dinner too on May 21st, but I don't think that's going to really impact our attendance.
Christian, how do you guys do it?
So we do PLC first. So we meet Wednesday nights at 6:30. And so the first meeting of the month, we have basically we split into two groups. We have the PLC meets, it does the planning for the rest of the month. And then we have the guides and the instructors work with the scouts up through first class who need advancement. So it's really sort of a focus time for them to work on, for the younger scouts to work on advancement, where they have some undivided attention from both the senior scouts but also from the assistant scoutmasters. And then that's been going pretty well for a few years, but we're getting to the point now where there's a bunch done, and so they don't have that same enthusiasm for coming to that meeting. So we're going to try next month having we have a couple of assistant scoutmasters who are counselors for astronomy merit badge. So they're going to be sort of working with scouts who are interested in starting the astronomy merit badge, sort of getting them up and running. And hopefully that'll take sort of those scouts who are less engaged out of the equation, so that the rest of the scouts can focus more on the advancement they're trying to take care of.
Yeah, it sounds like a good plan. Good plan. I was just looking at this diagram, the patrol leader counseling, and there's a position that's missing. Where's the scribe? Does anybody keep a record?
I was wondering that too.
Yes, our scribe is there. Yes.
Yeah, but somehow the BSA did not put it on this chart.
He's hiding in the red field, right?
Maybe it was done with red type on a red background. Okay.
No,
I mean, it's tough,
It's
right?
AI.
Because
Just use the computer. Just leave the computer on. The AI does it.
with the den chief, quartermaster, webmaster all not being a member of the PLC, it seems like that would only be, sort of the youth leaders. The scribe attends PLCs, but based on this, I wouldn't say they're a member of it. But somebody's got to take notes.
He's got to take notes. At least if you want to somehow assess performance at the end.
Why would we want to do that?
Wow. I know I forget stuff. I'm sure teenagers forget just as well. Do you Christian and Art, do you guys have scribes that function?
Yeah, it's The
But
quality
we-
of the notes have varied quite a bit over time. But try to get the notes them put up on our Google Drive to the same area where we have the agenda.
Yeah, we've also had very mixed reviews with our scribes. We had one who was excellent, would sit there with a laptop taking notes, and pretty much, half hour after the meeting, the notes would be posted. And the current one just keep, there's a lot of focus just to keep him focused on actually taking notes.
Mhm.
It's not easy.
No, it's
No.
not.
Do you ever think of identifying an assistant scribe? That would be the next scribe that could sit there running from him, so you have some kind of continuity in the position so that the notes kind of stay the same?
Nope.
It's a good answer.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that up to the next SPL, whoever that might be? Whoever the youth pick.
Mike,
Mhm.
that's an interesting point. Look, can we go to the next slide, Steve? The position of responsibility. Or what are they now called? They're not called that, are they?
No, what? Yeah, the positions of responsibility now.
Okay, they're not called junior league. Okay. Joe, you just raised the very first question. What positions are actually elected?
I mean, I don't have a troop, so I don't know, but I would assume the SPL and patrol leaders, and I would stop there. But I don't know, Art, Christian, Ken, if you want to, what do you guys
Those are
think?
the only two we have elected.
Yeah, we've varied over time. Part of it depends on.
Yeah, we just have.
Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
I was just gonna say we just elect senior patrol leader and patrol leader, and then they appoint below them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think when I first joined our troop, they elected like almost every position, and there was like a lot of enthusiasm, like multiple people trying to get into different spots, and it actually made it to be a very fun activity. I think over time we lost some of that enthusiasm for and so it was if it's single deep or you don't have anybody running for interested in a spot necessarily, then it kind of a little bit downer. So then we kind of backed off to senior patrol leader, patrol leaders, and then what we currently do is also we'll elect a troop guide and chaplain's aide as being kind of other kind of broader leaders within the troop, but then everything else is done by appointment.
Mm-hmm. I've heard every combination available. The most frequent one, the one that we always use, was the SPL and the patrol leaders got elected.
Mhm.
And then in consultation with the scoutmaster, assistant scoutmaster, we worked out people for other positions. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't work. John Bold, do you remember how long ago we met in that VFW in Medford?
In which place? The
The one-
VFW?
VFW hall that we were in.
Yeah.
Remember,
Oh, that's
5 years ago, 6 years ago.
6, 7 years ago, maybe. Yeah.
Well, I did this topic then, and we had a leader come in who I've never seen since, and he emphatically said, "In my troop, we appoint the SPL."
Hmm.
Needless to say, that
In his troop. Interesting that it's his troop and not the troop of, at this point, the boys.
So he's probably been
Boy,
overthrown. He's buried somewhere in one of the camps.
I find that a very interesting construction.
Yeah.
And then I always consider it our troop or the kids' troop, but not mine. And to appoint an SPL, that just, I'm sure it's highly efficient in terms of organization. Wow.
When I
And
was,
you know what? If he picked a 20-year-old or a 40-year-old, it'd probably be even more efficient.
well, listen, when I was a youth in the 70s, that's how it was done. The senior patrol leader was assigned or promoted by the scoutmaster. There were
Really?
patrols elected their patrol leaders, or basically they just kind of looked at each other and said, "You do it." But
Yeah.
Scoutmasters were appointing senior patrol leaders back then. I was shocked when I got involved in 2004 and found out that it was an election.
Yeah.
Tell you what, though, I don't like the election part of it from what point of view, because it becomes a popularity contest rather than skill, leadership skill.
Yes.
Well, doesn't that sort of, isn't that what life's all about? It's popularity, not skills,
Hmm. Which generation are you talking about? Huh?
right now.
Beyond Z?
I think an important point is how you get up to the election process. How the positions are defined, how the responsibilities are clearly laid out, even to the 11-year-olds who just crossed over, which hopefully, yeah, that's not on the slide, but it's an interesting thing we could talk about is what do you do if a junior leader doesn't do?
Hmm.
Christian, you have what do you think?
Oh, it's excuse me. That's like we just held the OA elections, which we felt very strongly was much more popularity contest than really sort of thinking about who is necessarily the best fit, the most required for OA. We've been pretty lucky with the elections for senior patrol leader. We require that anyone who wants to appear on the ballot has to talk to an adult leader first. And so that helps to sort of let people know that it's real and they actually have to really think about whether they want to do it or not. And so for the most part, the people who have come forward to do it would be capable of doing it. We haven't really come across a situation where somebody wants to be a senior patrol leader who really has no idea what they're doing.
Right. That is chaos. Yes.
The patrol leaders, on the other hand,
You start somewhere.
There is a learning curve.
Right, exactly. And by the time they're 17, they kind of know what they're doing. So
You have like a rank requirement. They have to be at least a first class scout or something like that as part of the process.
Not formally, but I mean it works out that way. I mean,
Yeah.
the only position I think that
yeah, I'd say the same.
yeah, I think the only position that requires rank is troop guide. I think has to be first class, right? And so that's I think the one item that we enforce.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's actually good. It actually motivated one of our girls to make first class because she wanted to be troop guide when there was a group crossing over last spring.
That's wonderful. And I proved she became an effective teacher at that point.
Say it again.
She became an effective teacher for that group.
Yeah, she's good at it. And she was motivated, right? So she had been dragging on the advancement, and this was the right kick that she needed. She'd already been in the troop 3 years, so enjoys the activities and yeah, really had completed everything. Just needed to go ahead and assert herself to get it done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have junior assistant scoutmasters?
Had one last year. It's kind of a funky position that we haven't figured out how to utilize well.
It's a way to give someone a position who has done some of these other roles, has been an SPL, and still wants to have some sort of leadership role. That's kind of 16-year-old. It's an appointed position, and you can have them focus on teaching something.
Yeah, JASM was always for SPL emeritus's.
Yep.
In my experience.
Yeah, once again, no formal rank requirement, but this tends to be something that if we have that ends up being Eagle Scouts,
There you go.
just step into that position. And it's just been hard to, it's just they're upper high school. They're not, they got a jillion things going on, and trying to be effective with them. It's an awkward position. I think what worked out well for us in the 70s when we had a leadership corps, and that we were basically, I think they showed the other position here as like the older scout patrol, and we just kind of went off and did our own thing, and it wasn't a position of responsibility. It was just other than we self-organized and did things that you're not allowed to do anymore. I think it just kind of we had driver's licenses. We went off and went camping, right?
The guide to safe scouting is catching fire.
It was a different time.
I know. What are the typical terms of office? Year, 6 months, forever? How does it work?
You have fall and spring elections.
So you have like a 6-month term.
One's 5 and one's 7.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, and that just because the summer months are kind of a little light. If otherwise, we do 6 and 6, so we kind of do 5 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have elections in December, December and June.
So you have someone being elected SPL in June and then go to summer camp as SPL?
Then go to summer camp, yeah, as SPL. And usually they go to summer camp. So every once in a while, the person doesn't end up going to summer camp, or we've had an occasion where they actually ended up working at summer camp rather than participating with the troop. But that way, at least we have sort of leadership squared away when we start in the fall.
Yeah. You just theoretically, the summer camp experience would be like the highest responsibility for an SPL. Just curious on that.
I think the connection if we have an SPL that is going to summer camp, certainly they're a leading candidate to be SPL for that week. But as others have Chris pointed out, I guess is a lot of times they're already CITs and counselors, and it's a little too late at that point.
So then would you have a summer camp election?
It's usually pretty clear. Last year's SPL was 2 years older than everybody else there. So in a Life Scout, and that's kind of par for the course. You end up with like maybe one older scout, maybe a couple that, whether or not it's done by appointment or election, the results will be the same.
Yeah. Okay. There are resources out there for the Scoutmasters to train the junior leaders. There's the next slide. Steve, the next slide will show the position descriptions that you can get for everything. The little cards. They seem to have a nice thing. And what I really like, though, is the notion of asking the scout to fill out the back part. What do they think will be successful? What are the goals that they would have to get there? And this might be a tool to handle that discussion before the election actually happens. What are you looking forward to? Why do you want to take this position on? Besides, having to have it there for your Eagle board, for your Eagle application. What do you think? Do you make use of those?
We do the cards when we typically do the ILST in the fall. When we really ought to be doing it in the winter too, but we typically do it in the fall and give everyone who has a position their card and sort of go through it with them and talk a little bit about goal setting and things like that. But we don't do the follow-up then at the end and say, how did this turn out for you? Did this work the way you wanted it to? Which
Yeah.
unfortunately is sort of the valuable part.
Mhm.
I've used it when I was Scoutmaster. I would use it as part of ILST.
Yeah, this is right. Yes, it is. Actually, it's one. I think it's the next slide that has the troop leader training for the troop. There we go. Introduction to leadership skills for troops. ILST. And I think it's a really really nice the bold type at the bottom that they have there. We have to mentor the scout, because you can't just assume that everyone is going to be a good leader when they take on the role. I think this is a pretty nice list of the kind of activities you'd expect for a junior leader. Sound reasonable for everybody, or do you in your experience have major discrepancies with this kind of thing?
I found over the years as Scoutmaster that a lot of it really just depended on the capability of the youth in question. That I would often see my role as Scoutmaster as, and not that I'm making it up. These words are are out there: guiding, directing, instructing, and depending on the capabilities of the youth, the age, the maturity of the kid who's elected, you're going to be doing more guiding if the kid is mature and capable. And if he's young and, not really paying attention, then you're going to do a lot more directing to help them be successful, because they just maybe aren't up to speed because they're underage. I've seen it happen a couple of times in my own troop where suddenly all your 16 and 17-year-olds are gone, and you got nothing but 12 and 13-year-olds, and you got a 13-year-old's got to be SPL, and they're not really mature enough and haven't had the troop experience to understand the job. So you got to do a lot more direction with them than just guidance. But they grow up and they learn. So
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do to help span the sort of range of capabilities is at least once a month on a Sunday evening, we have a Zoom call with our two senior patrol leaders for the boys and girls troops. And it's basically kind of prepping for PLC. I said our job is to make you successful. So kind of just working through with them, what needs to be discussed and the like, sort of helping them set an agenda, and so that they can, also, can work on announcements and agendas for each meeting. If we have a complicated trip coming up where we have to, may have to kind of reshuffle some of our patrols, just based on attendance. We usually try to get attendance signups done by Saturday, so that by Sunday night we have some feel for that. Then try to get them to work together to figure out what who's gonna be leading the different patrols, and senior patrol leaders for the weekend if there's not one of the senior patrol leaders there. So sometimes we're together 2 Sunday nights a month. And we didn't traditionally do that. It popped up during COVID because Zoom meetings just took a lot more coordination to do effectively. So we were actually meeting every Sunday night for that. But then we've backed off because the regular troop meetings just don't require that level of choreography, if you will. to make them
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it would be kind of like, you know, uh, you know, PLC would meet, and then it would be kind of a crash intersection of Scoutmaster, Senior Patrol Leader 5 minutes before the meeting to kind of make sure they're on the same page, and that worked. I think the Sunday night, prepares the Senior Patrol Leader to be in a whole lot better shape for leading both PLCs and there's the Scout meetings.
Yeah.
But once a month isn't bad. Twice if we got a complicated camping trip.
Sounds like a good plan. Good plan. I mean, obviously, taking the time and energy to help the scouts succeed. Good way to go. Okay.
The other comment you had about the cards. So prior to a troop election, we have all the previous people or the current people speak to what their position of responsibility entails.
Mhm.
So that the scouts become kind of the teachers of, if you take this position, this is what, you're going to do. Once again, works okay, but it's better than some adult up there going wah 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 wah. Right? It's
We didn't talk about this at the beginning. What about re-election? Do people run for re-elections?
there is no limit.
There is no limit, so you can do the scout can do what the scout wants.
The troop
would-
does, right?
I would strongly discourage my scouts from running for SPL twice. If that's what you're meaning by re-election.
Yeah, well, that would be one case. Yeah, that would be one.
I mean, when the troop is larger, you want to give other guys a chance, and just because somebody's popular, maybe they did a great job, but you want to give somebody else a chance, and
Mhm.
I would discourage them.
Yeah, the depending on the size of the troop, right, that it could become a real issue to make sure that everyone does have the opportunity to fulfill one of those roles.
Yep.
Because they're required for advancement.
But it's interesting though. I think there's a little bit of a sense of, I don't know. We have a small girls troop, right? And so I think there's a sense of like somebody's going to need to step up and do this, the roles, and so I don't have to do much for encouraging. It's they kind of figure it out, and it's interesting. It almost feels like it's more of they get together as a troop and they almost negotiate the positions as part of a kind of a communal election process to who will take the roles, as opposed to the boys troop, which has seems that it's a larger troop and has a much more formal election process to it.
Art, I've seen that in my, before girls were allowed when my troop was all boys, of course, they would negotiate. They'd have conversations with each other and say, well, Mads ought to be, he should have a chance, or Arthur, and sometimes I remember one year that they were really we really wanted one of the kids to be SPL and he just didn't want the job. And I mean, it's like, what do they do in Iowa? They caucus,
The caucus, yeah.
But I think it's a good skill, right? It was a very good skill for them to develop, and that way it wasn't left to chance. It was negotiated out that we want. Now the kids who were not part of that inner circle weren't, part of that conversation. But in terms of the older scouts who was being encouraged to run for SPL, like you said, the summer camp situation, we have the older kid who's higher in rank. Everybody knows. It had that sort of feeling for it because they understood the job and they knew who in their circle had matured, you know, to the point where they could take responsibility and they knew who hadn't. And I would make little speeches too, you know, and say, this isn't a popularity contest. It's about capability, who you want to be in charge, who you want leading you. And do they have the skill set and experience to do that? Don't just vote for a guy because you like him. Can he do the
Right.
job?
Right. That can be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, but I
Well,
thought
but I also had a scout that who had not had that chance during the normal school year, but was, you know, a senior scout at summer camp, and was a scout that, you know, was, I think, you know, I said the senior patrol leader role is going to be a challenge. But once again, we're there to back them up, make them successful. And the first couple days of summer camp were kind of shaky, but he figured it out. It's like, yeah, that's your job, you know, and then he kind of, you know, once he kind of stepped into it, it was like, okay, you know, the scouts were looking to him for direction, and it worked out. But so yeah, it's and I think, yeah, it's a scout who just, you know, from when he showed up in, you know, the end of 5th grade to how he is currently, man, it's like it's a night and day difference in terms of you know, his development.
Mhm.
And I mean, one of our big roles is to make sure that the kids have an opportunity to fail safely, right?
Yep. Summer camp, you know, you're backed up by how many adults and counselors, and
At
you're
least 4.
good.
Yeah. Okay. The next slide is just the outline for ILST. And there are number of ways you can do this. It can be done within the troop. I think, Joe Curran, you can actually set up a district-wide event, can't you?
No.
One of the options. It's not
Yeah,
the
you
preferred.
can, but you won't.
my understanding of you know, reading through the Scoutmaster handbook too, I mean, it's really intended for
The troop.
Scoutmasters to run with the youth leaders in their troop.
Right. It's just funny because when I just went through the booklet. They have there's a link there at the top that has what the syllabus is for the program, and they give, you know, several different ways to do it. One of them being the district does it. One of them a council-wide event, but it should be within.
That is a authorized alternative to the right way to do it, which is someone else does it.
Joe, don't you have a little extra time? It's only an hour a week, remember?
Actually, I am currently working with the GB. I shouldn't announce this, who I'm working with, but we're doing something with ILST to help Scoutmasters run better ILSTs. So look out for that in the future.
Hey, great.
All
We had
right.
we had a couple of our scouts, once again, it was during the COVID era, actually do it was kind of like a Sunday afternoon online ILST. And the goal was to, you know, from my perspective, is like we weren't doing very as well as we should be within the troop, and have a couple of them kind of experience it that way. And the goal was to go ahead and have, you know, them try to teach it. And the whole COVID thing just lasted longer than anybody figured it would. And yeah, but they at least got some experience from outside the troop for you know, kind of what leadership involves and responsibilities.
Yeah. We did it a couple of times where it was a weekend camping trip.
Mhm.
Instead of trying to do it in the meeting place context, troop meeting night or something like that. Have people done it that way?
No.
It's a lot more fun.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah, we've done it.
for a wood badge ticket, one of my alumni ran ILST on a camping trip for his wood badge ticket. You know,
Mhm.
took the place of the Scoutmaster and ran it with the senior scouts. on a camping trip, and it worked well.
Yeah, it did. It was fun. It was fun.
And we've
'Cause
done
as
it as
you
like
know-
a lock-in kind of event where we don't use our meeting place, but we use a different church in town and do the first section on the Friday night, and then stay overnight in the church Friday night, and then do the other two Saturday morning.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's there's enough flexibility. You can do, whatever
Yeah, that
works.
change of venue sounds very useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If a scout transitions, say, from patrol leader to ASPL or something like that, do you have them do the training twice?
I think my
we
interpret
definitely invite them to come back a second time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the recommendation that, that even if they've had it before, that they recommend repeating it either for a new position or re-election or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
There are two council-wide events. The next one, the Brown Sea program. Next slide. There we go. Ken Reardon was supposed to show up tonight. He was invited.
did.
He did.
I'm here.
You're invisible.
I am.
There you are.
All right, Ken,
You
welcome.
got too many Kens.
Okay, Ken, this is your spiel.
Alrighty, thank you for letting me come and adjusting to my schedule. I had a earlier round table at Great Eastern in Beverly, so I was able to make back and hit yours. So is everybody here familiar with Brownsea? Does anybody have no idea what Brownsea is? Just put your hand up. Okay, so I got a newbie. So Brownsea will be offered again. It will be the week of Sunday, June 25 through Saturday, July 1 at Base Camp, Camp Sarah down in Milton. We're looking for your best and brightest. We're looking for the future leaders of your troop. So I find it interesting that I'm following what it was that you were just discussing as far as what to do with your patrol leaders and your senior patrol leaders and how do you get them trained. That's who I'm looking for. I'm looking for your future leaders to kind of give them that bump up that they need to successfully run your troop. We teach leadership through scout skill. So we hit on what I consider the core scout in the outdoor program. So through camping, hiking, cooking, nature study, wilderness survival, pioneering, orienteering, through those skills, we try to develop leadership in the scouts. We do max out at 32 scouts, and we're looking for those scouts that are first class or above. This is not a introduction to scouts. This is they've been in scouts for a year or two. They've attained the first class rank, and now they're looking to take on those leadership roles, to deal with the younger scouts and to kind of move the troop forward. The troop is set at 32. And I'm doing the air quote thing. The deadline is May 15th. So if you have scouts that you want to send, have them register now, or have you registered them now. If 16 troops send 2 scouts, well, that's full, right there. So, but if 32 troops want to send 2 scouts, well, each troop can only send 1. So it depends on the numbers as far as how many kids you can all send from your troop. We have had in the past, a number 3 and a number 4 attend Brownsea. On the application portion of you'd register online, you pay online, but in the application, there's a Scoutmaster's portion that you as a Scoutmaster, or if you're not the Scoutmaster will fill out. And somewhere on that, just write in choice 1, choice 2, choice 3 if you're sending multiple scouts. You do not need to share that with the individual scout. I don't share it with them. That application packet, pretty much I'm the only one that sees it. So it's sort of like a confidential document, if you will. After May 15th, if you wish to, if you wanted to send additional scouts, then I'll start looking at your choice 3 and choice 4. So that's, if you got 4 scouts that yes, I definitely want to send these 4, get the names in, get the deposit in, and then shortly after May 15th, I'll be looking at the roster and trying to figure out who's attending and not attending. I did attend a commissioner's college 2 weekends ago in Burlington, and there was interest from outside the council. I spoke to commissioners from across New England, I guess, and there was interest in the room for Brownsea and as far as what it can offer their kids. I told them that I can't accept their kids until after May 15th. Spirit of Adventure gets first dibs. After May 15th, I just want to fill out the program until I get the magic number 32, and then the program's closed. Let's see now. The cost is $545. I'm told there are camperships available for those that, finances are a tough thing right now, but there are camperships available. Don't ask me what they are, but you can contact the council office. They deal with all money. I believe everybody has to have the adventure card, so it's 20% off of the $545. So it's closer to the $550-ish range, or somewhere in that. Sorry, the $450-ish range, or in that ballpark, anyways. I'm looking at the cover sheet right now. Was the cover sheet able to go out to the group?
No, we couldn't do that. Couldn't send out an attachment.
Okay.
It's on. I think it's on the link on the council announcement, I hope.
Okay. Yeah, my email address, I'll put in the chat box before I depart. It's kenreardon22@gmail.com if you have any questions. Is there any questions from you guys? Sorry, one more thing. Back to the Scoutmasters portion of the application. Please review with your scout that you're sending proper behavior, that they are representing their troop and your troop's program, to try to kind of weed out any inappropriate behavior, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. We've had some instances in the past. I don't know these scouts, you guys do. So I take you guys at your word that you're sending your best and brightest, and we as a staff, we try to teach them everything that we possibly can over the course of the week. But I do emphasize with you as the home Scoutmasters to please review appropriate behavior, review youth protection, and that they do represent your home unit. We're not looking for problems, and I don't think the scouts are either, but just to kind of set the ground rules at home, if you will. Are there any questions from you guys? Steve, you said that you'd never heard this before, so.
Well, I haven't seen it in operation. I actually know it exists, but I haven't witnessed it or talked with any scouts who've been there. But, and I'm not Scoutmaster anymore. But we have, I think, I've heard a lot of favorable things about it. So good job.
Thank you. It's a good week. It's a fun week. I took the program myself in 1986 as a learner. I've been on staff ever since, and I've been running it for 16 years or so, whatever it is. Everybody on staff except for one has attended Brownsea as a learner. So we certainly understand where the scouts are going through, and the requirements that we put upon them, and to get the program through. And the most common complaint over at the end of the week is not enough free time. And we got a syllabus that's about 2 inches thick or so, but we get through the material. It's a busy week. It's a fun week, but they definitely go back knowing more than when they entered. And if nothing else, they're their scout spirit is invigorated, and they have a better idea as far as what it is that they're supposed to do.
Great.
And there's opportunities for both boys and girls, correct?
Yes, we're reading through the female requirements with the new changes to youth protection, trying to hammer that out, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Ken, thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Take
Good to
care.
see you again, Ken.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, the next slide, the other opportunity is the National Youth Leadership Training camp at Camp Bell. That is a different type of program that is more like based on leadership skills rather than the focus on scout skills. I've had a scout go through it. One found it valuable, another one did not think it was valuable. So it's kind of a toss up on my own experience. I don't know if other people had scouts go to this. You thought, didn't you?
What was that, Ron?
Art, did you have a scout go to that? I remember we talked about this a while ago.
Yeah, we had Alexander Wong went to it several years ago. He found it very useful, and he ended up being, as an older scout, did well with some trip leading and Philmont and stuff like that. So, I think he got something out of it.
And he's an Eagle.
He's an Eagle, and he's off in college now at
Yeah.
working in a robotics program.
Okay.
But but yeah, there was a period we sent nobody. There was somebody else I think we sent too. I'm drawing a blank on who right now. Probably wasn't quite as effective there. But yeah, there were some I don't know, bad vibes from it from years ago. I think we sent some people down to probably the Cape and the Islands Council for one, and they felt like they got marched around. It was more of a kind of a military drill than a kind of a leadership thing. So I think it was a little old school because I could relate to that. It's like, yeah, that's what we used to do. We used to march around when I was a scout in the 70s.
Well, I can tell you the program, for those of you who are like wood badge for the 21st century, sorry, it's that. It is all about, the higher level leadership skills and less, marching, less staying in formation, less cooking, things of that nature, though they will still, cook as a troop and what have you. And if I could just do a plug for the council training committee, we don't have enough scouts in the council right now to run our own NYLT because you got to be NYLT trained to staff it. So it would help us a lot if you send some kids to it. There are a lot other opportunities besides Camp Bell, but Camp Bell's the one we're promoting.
Thank you, Joe. Very good. Okay. Next slide, please, Steve. Homework. Really appreciate it if you guys would think about what you'd like to talk about next year. What kind of seminars you want to have, what kind of discussions. We are hell-bent to have a Cub Scout breakout too. So pass that on to your Cub leaders. Same thing, topics that they're interested in. We will try to coordinate that and hopefully have a better program, especially.
And all the people watching on YouTube can also email you their suggestions.
Yes. Good point. Thank you, Joe. It's much more fun if people pick the topics than things that you'd like to talk about. Okay. Next month, we have the district kickoff meeting on Roundtable night. So we won't have the type of agenda that we've had now for Roundtable. John, Mr. Tumblin had to leave. He's unfortunately not with us tonight, but he wants to remind people, the next slide, about that citizenship in society requirement. It's an additional Eagle required merit badge. It must be earned. So now we're up to 14 Eagle required badges, with cooking, citizenship, and society being the 13th and 14th. If you go to the link on the BSA website for the Eagle application, there are two versions of the application there. One is for after July 1, 2022. That's the one that has citizenship and society and cooking specifically listed. The other one doesn't, and apparently there has been an incident. Scout sent in his paperwork without that merit badge, and we've managed to get him an extension, so he can earn the badge even though he is now 18, and get his Eagle.
I
Okay.
believe we're beyond any deadline when it would not have been required, right? We're well past that.
Absolutely not. Why they have that second.
The deadline was July 1st of last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Why they have the wrong application on their website makes absolutely no sense. Because somebody's going to download it and some kid is going to have a problem. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is all I have for the evening. Thank you. Art, Christian, thank you for coming. I appreciate your contribution to the discussion. It was great. Steve, same, and Joe, two regulars who contribute to these sessions. Okay,
Art,
Joe.
Christian, I hope you consider coming to the 24th event at First Baptist in Arlington for the recognition event and the year-end meeting.
And that
Yeah, I
was
think-
at 7 in the evening.
Yeah, 7 o'clock.
Seven.
Is there a sign up process for that, or?
Yeah, there is. And I'll get the link out to everybody. It should have been out once already, but I'll get it out there again. It should also be on the district webpage on the council.
Okay, just the fact that there is one there, sign up. Oops, there it goes. Looks like Ken's all over this. And so I was looking through these award things, and there's an interesting requirement on the William Boyce New Unit Charter Award that actually requires that you have at least 10 youth at your first unit's meeting. That is that's a tall order for a small girls troop. We have yet to get to 10.
Yeah.
After 3 years. So
You have to have 10 youth to
10 youth to attend your new unit's first meeting.
wow.
Did they change that?
It's requirement number 11 on the first page of the application.
Do they have to be registered?
No, I mean they just have to attend the unit's first meeting.
And they just need to be youth. They don't need to be youth eligible to join your girls troop. That's for sure.
So you can include the boys that are there, huh? That are
Yeah.
they're already part of the 304B.
I absolutely would.
Okay. Yeah, there's a series of dates in here that are who knows.
The requirements, exactly the requirements, and nothing but the requirements, if you recall.
Are we wrapping up then?
If I'm wrapped up. I'm
We're
done.
good.
You got one more slide here, Ron.
Just
Yeah.
the list
Covered that.
this
Yeah,
year's.
okay.
Oh, well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ron.
Okay. Night.
Take care. Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Stay cool.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and participating. Whoever's
Night.
left.